My father came from a very, very poor background, and the village that they grew up in was subject to typhoons and tornadoes. If you want to change the status quo of your life, you make a move yourself. Don't expect somebody to come, which is what Karvy was doing at that time. He was doing it like a back office.
Yeah.
So it gave us the opportunity to actually build a front office. If I would only narrate the failures, the so-called failures.
Yeah.
The failures are actually not beating the evens.
Was there a near-death moment for that venture, or even at Karvy, anything that was like, hey, I'm going to shut down tomorrow kind of experience?
It's not about, while you've appropriately called it beating the odds.
Yeah.
Actually, it's beating the evens.
One boardroom red flag that makes you walk out of the board.
Lack of transparency.
Welcome to Beat the Odds, an unfiltered conversation with brand leaders across. Here we bring in the raw, unfiltered conversations where we'll talk about how they build the brand, the failures, the challenges, and more. Our today's guest at Beat the Odds is someone who built the rails for the Indian stock market before most of us even owned a computer. He's one of the founding team members of Karvy and went on to manage 20 million shareholders, and they now manage $1 billion worth of deep tech startups across the world. He has 40 years of Hardburn lessons, and we're going to try and unpeel that layer by layer. We're going to unpeel stories about Sudhir, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Beat the Odds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lovely to be back in Chennai and in this studio.
Fantastic. I know we were talking about, this being in black and white and sepia. So we're going to go back 40 years. Tell us about the early days of Karvy. How did it happen? Liberalization was happening. So many things going on. There was obviously trust deficit as well in this entire ecosystem. How did this start off? How were the first few years?
I'd go back even further.
Sure.
As to why would I go there?
Yeah.
And it starts off with an interesting sort of scenario where my father used to work with ITC. And here in Chennai, and this is back to the 70s, so it's a little over 50 years ago. And in came an envelope with share certificates in it. And my father said, this is the benefit of working in teams.
Ah, right.
This is the ESOP certificate that arrived. And he says, you get paid for salary, but that's the work you do. You get a bonus, sometimes because it's you, but more importantly, the immediate team. That's how these are normally, the calculus is around that. But more importantly, if you look at the entire company, and I don't even know who works on the other side, I may not know, but the benefit of working in larger collectives, this is what it is. And I was like 12 years old.
Right.
12 or 13 years old. But that is an important point because you start seeing that. And then my father came from a very, very poor background. And the village that they grew up in was subject to typhoons and tornadoes and all of the above, right? So East Coast, Kakinada, in the coastal area. And they would periodically lose everything that they had.
Right.
Periodically, because of seasons.
And rebuild all of it.
And so by 14, they were back in a cycle of needing to beg for food and no security for nothing, right? So he decided this is not likely to work. And so he runs away from home. Takes the first step, which is if you want to change the status quo of your life, you make a move yourself. Don't expect somebody to come from somewhere else. And so he starts his journey there as a risk taker, in a sense. Cut paste, this happens. Cut paste moves on to 1975. A few years later, we land in Calcutta.
Right.
He's now in the headquarters of ITC by now. And Calcutta, he gets to know from his colleagues, has the Calcutta Stock Exchange.
That is amongst the oldest ones at that point.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So he says, let's go to the Calcutta Stock Exchange. And I want to introduce you guys to investing. So now I'm only 14 or 15, right? And he takes the next risk step, which is I have a life insurance policy, but it's pledgeable and I can take a loan against it. So we go to the branch at Grindlay's Bank. I was with him. And we took a loan against an LIC policy
Right.
to invest in the market. And that, to my mother, was super high risk, given we were still in school or graduating state.
That was 50 years ago. Even today, the people think it would be a high risk.
Correct. But I think it's important to understand what it means to entrepreneurship or to businesses or to situations that are very, you put you into exigencies. And at that, you either take risk when you're okay to take risk, or you take risk when the exigency demands risk taking.
Yeah.
And so entrepreneurs quite often take the risk of jumping in, then they stop taking risk, and then they push to taking risk, like pledging one's everything, right? So I think that comes as a learning there. And so we participate in then a boom that begins when the controller of capital issues from Delhi puts out a diktat that you have to dilute your ownership to Indian stockholders. So this is also in the mid 70s. And so it starts a barrage of companies that are US, Indian companies, uh, MNCs, lots of MNCs. And so it allows us to participate in the market.
Right.
So now I'm like less than 18, but as a family, our initial wealth gets formed for the first time from these ITC shares
Right.
and the ability to participate in IPOs. So today, when you talk about IPOs, I was sort of schooled into IPOs. There was not an it was not it was the initial public offer, but for an established, well-known company like Colgate Palmolive
Yes.
or Levers or
Yeah.
Nestle, lots of companies. IBM said we will not dilute our stake to Indian shareholders, so they left the country.
Right.
Coca-Cola said we won't do it, so they left the
They left.
country.
Yeah.
They come back later, post-liberalization. But the investment or thinking about equity is something that stays equity as an asset class, but also equity in the form of what it represents, which is multiple minorities. So if you look at minority shareholders, one part of it, any minorities, when you collectively work for the minorities, that is true equity. There's the philosophical word of equity.
Right.
But these two become very important prime movers in our system. At home, and most characters built at home, at least for me. And that then allows us to think about equity as an asset class. We're trained into it. So I don't think we ever had a fixed deposit
Right.
for a long time. All our money was in savings, were always sort of channeled towards equity. And over time, I study accounting. I become
Become a CA.
the professional side of me.
Yeah.
And in that period, I was in Calcutta. So Calcutta had a commerce program at the St. Xavier's College from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning. During the day, you would take your articleship, apprenticeship. In the nights, I would study for being a CA. I was 17 when I started. And so you learn a lot in that period. And then you're sort of, the milieu for us was the stock exchange, stocks, annual reports. So the buzz was high. So you might be watching Netflix today. We were watching IPOs,
Right.
right? So, and I was in my teens. And I think that had a profound impact on what I might then continue to do.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's where it all started.
Right.
So
That
by
was
the
the
time,
seed of it all.
that's the seed. So it's important to understand what kicks off the ability to think about a business idea. Some people say, I want to be in healthcare because my grandmother died of cancer. That could be the reason. My father died of cancer. So am I doing some things in oncology today? Yes, I am. My mother died as well out of an infectious disease. Am I doing something in preventive health checks, etc.? I am. So my investments 40, 50 years downstream are often have the germination of that. And therefore, I think nothing is accidental,
Absolutely.
in more ways than one.
You just connect the dots later on in life.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we were not studying quantum physics at that time. Now, if you're studying quantum physics, it's not connecting the dots. You can actually go, space and time are getting redefined in
Yeah.
more ways than one.
Yeah.
So Karvy then happens as a subsequent happening. It's an event that happens subsequent. What happens really is my first entrepreneurial stint, I choose not to progress on it. So it's not a failure, but I choose not to fail. You can see failure. So you sometimes, as an entrepreneur, you meet failure ahead of schedule. You then are lucky if you get a signal or somebody talks to you about it. Gives you a hint that have you thought about this? And I was here in Chennai to finance my first enterprise, and my finance documents were all approved. I was ready to take my loans. Down here in Senate Ave Road was
Right.
ICICI, was not a bank at that time. It was ICICI Limited.
Right.
They were a development finance institution. And the general manager said, uh, what if the competitor extends credit? What would you do? I was the only guy in the market. I was going to be the second guy in the business we wanted to do. And he says, so I looked at it, listened to it, and I walked out. And I told my partner, I had a partner, I said, I'm not going ahead with this. He said, what are you saying? He said, he asked a very pertinent question. Do you have working capital? You seem to have put your capital for buying machines, etc. But do you have money for working capital? Because that would be a competitive advantage that the incumbent has. And so I walk out of that deal to not do manufacturing, and I go into marketing, interestingly, sales, working capital,
Right.
as my first entrepreneurial effort. So the second, first one being, I'm not moving forward. You can go ahead. I will buy from you or I will sell to you, but I will set up my first pass separately. And that takes me into printing marketing materials. So social beat and everybody around brands, etc. I encountered the best quality brand managers as my clients back then. This is in the 80s. But it takes me to a print shop. And I used to print point of sale and point of purchase materials for the advertisers. And I had 7 of the top 10 FMCGs as my clients back then. So I get into printing. But there's this little stuff going on inside my gut. So a friend of ours who was running Karvy at the time, I said, can I print annual reports? Because I love reading annual reports and I've been a follower of annual reports. You guys ship a lot of annual reports as registrars and share transfer agents. I want to print annual reports. So I get an introduction to a client and I actually print annual reports
Right.
from Tamil Nadu in Sivakasi, actually.
Right.
So my early entrepreneurship was a lot in Sivakasi. I learned all my business understanding came from the families that I worked in Sivakasi. And,
Interesting.
and so he says, what do you know about annual reports? So I said, give me an annual report. I'll read it and I'll talk to you about it. Then he says, but we're in equities. I said, yeah, I know, I understand. And then he starts quizzing me and we keep chatting. And the same day he says, why don't you join us and lead a certain effort that we're planning to do, which is really look at a national stockbroking company. And I said, really? And so I said, this looks fascinating and interesting. And that's the early start.
Fascinating. Yeah.
So it's actually a lot of serendipity
Yeah.
that makes you drive things. It's not necessarily regulation or policy or liberalization, or those are added advantage, I would say.
But also your passion, right? Because I think you had that interest in equities and researching on those annual reports, and
Exactly.
that passion helped sort of get there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally helps. And then taking decisions because there's a prior thread
Yeah.
that allows you to take a quick call. And it was pretty instantaneous internally for me that I would jump back to equities because I understood the power of equity philosophically as well as equity as minority shareholder interest. So, and that has propelled a lot of my work, I would say over the last 40 years.
Yeah. Fascinating. What did you do with the printing business?
My partners were involved. My cousin, my brother was involved. So they continued it at the time they could continue it. And I said bye, basically.
Yeah. Sure.
Because then you have to say bye to some stuff.
Yeah. Just sticking on to Kavi, right? And I did hear somewhere that at some point, and I think you mentioned as well, is that Kavi had thousands of people managing all these paper share certificates and managing the logistical, I would say, nightmare of making sure it reaches the right shareholder. How did you manage this in the pre-digital era, right? How did this work out? And is this where the love for tech and process, all of that comes from?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I would go back again always.
Yeah.
Why do you do what you do?
Yeah.
I'd always wanted to be an engineer actually. So at the Madras Christian College School out here in Chennai, there was a diversified course. It was called a diversified course. So at class 9, you could opt to take this 10th and 11th would be what was an engineering course.
Okay.
So I learned how to file, put electrical circuits and stuff like that because I always had a mind to be an engineer. But probably I didn't have the right kind of push in my own self. So I didn't become an engineer,
Yeah.
became an accountant.
Yeah.
But that stayed. So when I had to sit for my chartered accountancy, again, they gave us an option. It was something called a Group C. And I took systems analysis and data processing, operations research as the elective.
Right.
But again, therefore, it tickled my minds around being systematic and being a system thinker in a sense. So when you run a business, and I'm sure you've done that, and social media does it well, you have to think about what's likely to repeat itself.
Hmm.
And every repetitive action can be pushed into a system of any kind, some method. And whether it's digital or otherwise, it really is less consequential.
Right.
Today, you get every 5-10 years, you get new tools that assist you in the ability to the word scale.
Yeah.
And the scale, if you look at it, could be used as a tool for measuring. But more importantly, when I look at a scale, it tells you the repeat position of what you're measuring.
Right.
You can measure in millimeters, you can measure it in centimeters, you can do it in inches, you can do it in pounds, you can do it in whatever else you want. So we encountered a fortunate scenario. Yeah, the oodles of paper, and then you can start thinking paper, right? And then paper to paperless.
Yeah.
But if you haven't understood paper, the first document, or when we whiteboard, if we haven't understood the first drawing of the ink viscerally, you tend not to be able to digitalize it so easily. But then once you understand that trajectory of thought, using then a piece of math and physics to convert, you then convert that to a digital mode, and then you realize that can repeat, that can go to scale.
Right.
But it's important for that conversion of thought and into a chain of thought, as it's called today, as now what machines are seeking to be trained on. It's really what we do. And once you train these machines, or you've trained it for a method, it will repeat itself.
Yeah.
I was again very lucky that after I finished my CA, NIIT had just opened here in Chennai.
Yeah.
I was one of the first batches that went to NIIT to learn programming.
Right. C++ and Java. Maybe before that.
Was it before that? Yeah, basic.
Yeah.
So the thing is about understanding that when you want to scale some stuff, then you want to think about method, system, repeat, deploy, right? So I think technology then becomes a great friend of yours for being able to see the impact that you seek to make or at scale. There were always 1 billion plus people in this country ever since I was born. And then when you look at population at scale, if we can't do it here, then where else should we actually try?
Yeah.
So and it comes back to the opportunity that emerged was being of service to minority shareholders, which is what Karvy was doing at that time. But was doing it like a back office.
Yeah.
So it gave us the opportunity to actually build a front office and say, I will go closer to where shareholders live geographically in this country, and then go serve them for their interests in the companies that they've already been invested into, and provision a whole notion of minority shareholder service, which a corporation then can say, yes, I want to actually serve these people.
Right.
So if we didn't use technology, it would be hard for us to be geographically present.
Right.
And I reel back and say, if I'd not done printing in my life
Right.
and understood the power of a printing press, you would have no Bible and you would have no religion if there was no press.
Right.
It continues to be one of the most published books in America, for example. Right?
Yeah.
But that's thanks to the press. So my work with the press understood, like, if I wanted to put advertising material for selling any product in the market downstream, I'm selling biscuits in Britannia. We had to know Britannia's footprint of distribution, and not every biscuit sells everywhere.
Yeah.
Because it depends on what price point that you seek to sell it at.
And flavors may differ.
Flavors differ.
Yeah.
Or it took a tea company like that. Back then, there were 2 tea companies, one Lipton and one Brook Bond. Now there are a few, but it's much smaller. And Tata Tea. All 3 were my clients.
Right.
But you learned from these guys as to what is their distribution mechanism? How do they think about consumption? How do they think about, taste? How do they think about color?
Right.
What mnemonics do you work with? And so that allowed me to understand India at its widest way and the deepest way. Because if I was serving a cigarette company, then they were like even further down deep.
Yeah.
If I was a biscuit company, it's a little, confectionery was a little less.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So I understood from consumption patterns the rest of India. And we built, at the time, all the printing got done in Sivakasi, and we would ship to all parts of the country. So we had to build a logistics company.
Okay.
And in that business.
Okay.
So I made friends with a company, it was a courier company, but I would sleep on railway stations. I've slept on any number of times in this airport here overnight, because you're the logistician. You are the carrier of the goods. You're taking the first sets of prints for approvals. You're taking the first 35 kilos for a launch. For just a little bit. Then you move 3 tons. Then you move 30 tons. Then you move 300 tons if need be. So that learning we deployed again in Karvy, which is the imagination of, there are shareholders across the country. They can come from anywhere once they get the risk appetite, or once they've got the literacy to take risk. Right? You can't be illiterate and take risk. You should be literate to take risk.
Yeah.
But that we were purveyors of at Karvy. So you had to embrace technology. It could be the printing press.
Yeah.
Or imagine every element of the press. Back then, if you wanted stickers, which you could paste on a shop, the fact that you have to, run gum on it was a manual exercise. I used to get 200 to 300 people to Sivakasi from Tirunelveli. Labor crews would come and they would do stickering.
Right.
They had the ability to put the right kind of adhesive at the back and then ship your stickers.
Right.
So automation. I said, this is not sustainable, because my clients are coming and saying, I want 1 million stickers.
Yeah.
Give me 10 million. And I'm launching a brand. And I had 7 guys. So we would be seeing 30, 40 brands. So I said, wow, how do we look at this automation? So I'd go through what is available globally. And I found that screen printing had become automated in Japan, not everywhere else, for some reason. So I said, let's import 1 machine. So my partner and I said, okay, let's import 1 machine. And the State Bank of India said, we'll give you a loan for 1 machine. Soon we had many machines, and we were the only guys who could actually produce stickers. So innovation, stickers, technology of all kinds.
Yeah.
Mechanical, electronic, whichever way you look at it. We had crossfield scanners back then. There were only 3 presses in the country who had it. 1 in Sivakasi, 1 in Bombay, 1 in Delhi. Just imagine. Right. So they were adopters. They were early adopters of technology. Sivakasi has always been, at that point in time, was always ahead. and it was just underutilized.
Right.
So I would deploy my working capital to that benefit, right? So something is underutilized, you can actually move that. So I'm bringing these together because there are learnings that one makes which you need to keep uh, sort of adopting
Yeah.
in different scenarios.
Yeah.
So Karvy, for me, scaling up shareholder services and the whole idea of therefore 20 million shareholders, and it was a combination always hybrid intelligence. It was always part automation, part human, part automation.
The business understanding is important as well.
Yeah, and part human is critical because if you
Yeah.
don't have human, I think you fail.
Similar to what's happening in AI in some sense as well.
Exactly.
So,
So the human in the loop and the whole idea of solving for with phenomenal amounts of automation and compute or whatever we talk about today,
yeah.
but all the time with the intelligence of the human or the heart of the human,
Yeah.
right? The soft tissue of the human, the social side of us. So your word is nice, social beat. But the social side is important. We ought not to ever forget that. The beat side of it is actually running a rhythm. And you can run the rhythm at scale.
Yeah. Oh, nicely put. Did the early wealth that you and the family created, did that give you some sort of comfort to take some of these risks? Because importing a machine from a different country, I'm sure, is probably wasn't very common back then. Or was it?
No, I had partners always. One thing
Yeah.
I've always done is have partners who share your risk, who share your ideas, who share your vision. And it's always shared.
Yeah.
What's interesting is when you share, you always stoke capability of the other person, not just yours. And that's extremely helpful.
Need a
And when
partner in
we
crime. Yeah.
and when we use the word talent and teams, often we think about what's within the enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, lots lies beyond the enterprise. Right? So partnerships as a way to perform. So my partner in Savakasi
Yeah.
had the abilities that I didn't have.
Right.
And he said, I don't have the abilities that you have. And I was in my 20s, and he must have been in his 40s. But Annachi, as we called him, right? Uh, he was the Modalali. But I had like equanimity on the floor.
Yeah.
We would sit in the night, and if you're doing overtime, then you give the biryani to people who are working with you in the night at the machines, sticker, whatever you were doing. Because if there's a brand launch and there's a date, you
That
better
cannot be
meet
moved.
that date.
That
That's
cannot
not
be moved.
moving.
Yeah. We know this very well.
My first shipment went 6 hours late. It was a very large amount of money, 35,000 rupees.
Yeah.
And my client taught me that day saying, I'm not accepting these stickers. I said, what do you mean you're not going to do it? I thought he was egotistical. I thought he was arrogant. I thought he was being client. But he said, no, it came late. It missed the launch.
Hmm.
I'll use it. Or you take it back. But it didn't come. I said, it's of no use to me. I said, okay, then I'll use it. But
Right.
I'm not paying you for this. Now, for a guy who was earning 3,000 rupees and starts a business at the time, 35,000 rupees was 12 months'
Sum.
salary.
It's a huge sum. Yeah.
No, just think hard about it.
12 months. Yeah.
You take off, you say, I want to quit, I want to be an entrepreneur, da da da. It all sounds good. But when you don't perform a contract, and if your client, he was very wise telling me this. And by the way, he sent me a letter which said that quality, time, and price are mutually exclusive. Your quality will have to improve. Your price has to be lower. And I do it in lesser tact than anybody else. Then you're my vendor.
Right.
And after that rejection of 35,000 rupees, I went on to build a multi-crore business. But I will never forget the importance of time, tact, quality, And therefore,
Rising.
then you start thinking technology, then you start thinking process, then you start thinking method, then you start thinking partners, because it's not going to happen without my logistics partners. How can I promise that there's a launch in Coimbatore, but there's also a simultaneous date being given for launch in Guwahati, right? Because tea was consumed in Tamil Nadu, Bengal, Assam
And
more than
Northeast.
other places.
Yeah.
Just and the brand would be different.
Yeah.
Underlying, dusty is dusty. But we're planning this assault pre-monsoon, seasonality.
Yeah.
So you think about all these things. And so now you think about doing this in investing.
Yeah.
Same story. Risks are different, seasons are different, timings are different. And an IPO is an IPO. It's a date given. You have to plug in all the applications on that date. You have to close T plus. The whole idea of T plus, T minus, thinking of turnaround times in the physical world. And then you just adopt it into digital. Whatever has to happen digitally, no problem at all.
Yeah.
It's much easier.
Fascinating. Great to know that some things in marketing haven't changed over the decades.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still the same. So great. At the heart of this podcast is learning from challenges, learning from failures, learning from what didn't go well, right? And that's really why we're calling it Beat the Odds, because you want to unpeel those layers and talk about things that often you wouldn't talk about, right? And you spoke a little bit about the printing press. One of the challenges you did talk to us about, losing that money of 35,000 rupees. Can you take us through maybe one more thing and what didn't work, right? Is there something that was there a near-death moment for that venture, or even at Karvy, anything that was like, hey, I'm going to shut down tomorrow kind of an experience?
Multiple times.
Yeah, maybe take us through one or two of them.
See, it's not about, while you've appropriately called it beating the odds.
Yeah.
Actually, it's beating the evens
Right.
that are more important in life. There are times when you're successful, and all the times that you're successful, and you can term success as being recognized, uh, making money, different ways of terming why I'm successful.
Yeah.
That's considered the even period. And more often than not, you have to beat the even.
Yeah.
Because it's in success that we go a little dizzy
Complacency comes in.
very easily.
Yeah.
So the art really is consuming success and being anticipative of the odds. Now, when you grow up over time, you start getting better at anticipating the odds and conserving the evens, not celebrating the evens and being completely, caught unawares of the odds.
Right.
So I think that's a critical factor. So now if I look back, how many periods did I have as evens versus odds? I would reckon 4:3.
Right.
Every 7 years you have a business cycle. 4 years are odds, 3 years are even. Best case scenario.
Right.
I'm saying best case.
Yeah.
And I can run a time series, any sector, any country. And I found that this is actually true.
Yeah. Even Roger Federer said this, right? I think in his
Or did he
speech,
say that as well?
he said, I've lost, if you looked at the rallies that he's won and the points that he's won, he's lost, I think, 49% of it or something like that, right? So
Possibly.
right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And so then, if I were to only narrate the failures,
Yeah.
the so-called failures,
Yeah.
the failures are actually not beating the evens. That's critical.
Sure.
Just appreciate that thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
That's
if
deep.
I anticipate risk, I'm better off for the 4-year periods when others have not anticipated the risk.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's about, if there's a notion of failure, it's really getting all consumed by the even,
Understood. Yeah.
all consumed by success.
And not planning for the.
Just not being ready for tomorrow and day after tomorrow, even though that's 24 and 48 hours away.
Yeah. Fair. So where's there certain risks that you were able to anticipate
I'll tell you
ahead
a big
of
one.
others? Yeah.
I'll give you a big one, right?
Yeah.
Let me say what I did not anticipate.
Sure.
So I see Y2K happening in the late 90s.
Yeah.
I've done this public market stint for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And we've done things at super scale,
Yeah.
2,000 public issues and 20 million shareholder accounts and 5,000 people working.
Yeah.
So those are all metrics that people can narrate.
Yeah.
But within that 10-year period, there must have been 3 bear cycles which wiped us out,
Including Harshad Mehta at that time. Yes.
including
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
within a 10-year period. So having been wiped out, having done all of one side thinking of the evens,
Yeah.
but it comes to me that who loses in all of this? The greedy lose a lot more, lose the most.
Yeah.
The not so greedy are caught unawares, right? So they lose more. And then I realized that if the intent of the Securities Exchange Board of India or all intermediaries in the capital market are to be able to build assets for the country, and unless you build assets
Yeah.
that are valuable to customers and all stakeholders, the market has nothing to reflect.
Yeah.
The market is at best a reflection of what we are doing. So there are 4,476 companies today listed, and it's valued at whatever, $5 trillion. And at that time, the indices were at 200, 800, whatever, when I started. And now you say it's whatever, right? So what does that mean? It's a reflection of the domestic product or our interactions with the rest of the world and what we are doing from an economic indicator standpoint. And that's a reflection.
Yeah.
But if the underlying assets are not strong to weather the storms, to manage volatility, uncertainty, etc., then the core of this class will always be sort of an optionality will emerge that I don't want to invest here.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, we learned that very closely. From the 80s and the 90s were a period we were liberalizing, but we also came to sort of what came to bear was that we were not smart and strong enough. And so the process of business is really empowerment, empowering everybody around you.
Yeah.
Right? To improve what their intent is. If I was printing stickers, the empowerment was to reach it in time so that that customer who might see it and be excited about it, that there's a new flavor available or a new product available, will test, try, and then it goes
and
from
then your
try
client
to
succeeds. Yeah.
try to succeed.
Yeah.
So I go through these 90s with multiple ups and downs, and then I realized that the loss was to a lot of individual investors. So I came off to Chennai to shut my mind from public markets and set up Netfinex along with a partner here. And we got NASDAQ as a partner. I proposed to NASDAQ that you are selling equities only, but there are other instruments. When these periods arrive, you should be actually giving them bonds. You should give them fixed income products. You should give alternatives.
Right.
By the way, in the 90s, we also built the mutual fund industry in India.
Yeah.
Right? We wrote the rails for that, and a lot of tech went in at that time. But one was seeing that the optionality of having an advisor to the customer was almost non-existent. We had selling agents, but no buying agents.
Right.
So I actually came here to build a all electronic platform with a straight-through processing engine, which would connect the dots of all products, financial products, and make it available through advisors to individuals. And the individuals could be self-directed if they had the literacy, but they would in parallel be advisor assisted. And that would be the same record would be available to both.
Right.
And the transaction processing engine also was built. But 2001, I did not predict that we'll have a sudden event.
Yeah.
9/11 happens.
Yeah.
And it takes us all down the cliff.
Changes everything in the world overnight.
So that was early on when Taleb and all of them talk about the Black Swan event. Right?
Yeah.
So the unanticipated got me. That was not my failure. On my failure not to anticipate such scenarios would be my failure.
Yeah.
Because I'd already been in markets. I was old enough. So who do I blame it on? If I'm considered the leader of the shop, then I take everybody's lives with me because I did not anticipate it. So that
Right.
would be my leadership failure.
Right.
Not anticipating.
Not anticipating the Black Swan event.
Yeah.
Which most people in the world can't.
Huh?
Which most people in the world probably
It's
find it
okay.
very hard. Yeah.
It's okay. I know, for example, markets were like freaking out in 2007, before 2008.
Yeah.
I know plenty of managers who gave back the money. They said, take your money back.
Better to have it in
We're
cash.
not willing to buy this.
Yeah.
Stay in cash. So you need a lot of rigor and discipline. I would call that leadership.
Yeah.
So once you fail on the inability to anticipate,
Yeah.
I think you have a problem. And it's not, when I say you, it's not me, the individual.
Yeah.
I've not created a team that can share the risk of the unanticipated.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. No, absolutely. And were there any sort of risks that you did manage well? What would you like to take us to one of those? Like, which risk did you anticipate? Which event that you anticipated either at IndusAge or at Karvy that helped you sort of?
I think one of the things that happens is you got to huddle very fast. And you have to just quickly share risk.
Yeah.
You have to be open about risk. You have to be open about, bleed. If you are, then normally you get quick solutions. More importantly, you get quick execution capacity to cross over.
Yeah.
And I would say every time we've had these hassles, it's the ability to re-engineer yourself and mates with you to take that, what it takes to cross over. And that is something that I think there are any number of events. You can't really specify one event, but many external circumstances that kill your competition, so to speak. Let's take 1990 happens. SEBI is formed. Before that, no regulator, almost. So the regulator arrives. What do? You embrace the regulator or you don't. Electronification starts, you embrace it or you don't. 23 exchanges shut down.
Right.
One went electronic and owns 90% of the business even today.
Yeah.
Even today.
Right.
That much longer. So the question is, do you embrace difficulty?
Yeah.
Do you embrace that the degree of difficulty or degree of complexity at that point in time is very high?
Yeah.
But you have to embrace it.
Yeah.
And you have to share it and then solve for.
Yeah.
And I think then you cross over. So I would take any number of incidents along my life.
Yeah.
Where, fine, you didn't anticipate it, but how do you respond to it?
Yeah.
When you take the physicality of a flood. When my father's island got flooded, he had to run from it. I don't know whether they've done anything about that space yet.
Right.
Whether there are any boys or I don't think so.
In Kakinada.
Yeah. I don't think so. But I'm sure they still keep getting wiped, unfortunately. But do we have a disaster recovery system today to alert people to leave? Yes. Are there lesser number of deaths from floods? Yes. Fast forward, I go to Calcutta. Rains happen every time. Flooded. City gets flooded. So I've experienced city flooding. And then what do you learn to do? You wade through the flood. I would go to get my packet of milk in the morning. Yeah. You have to wade through. And we did wade through. Come to Chennai floods.
Yeah.
Okay. Lucky this time is you anticipate.
Yeah.
What did I anticipate? That even if I'm buying or I'm going to stay in a home rented at Koturpuram, I saw the topology of Koturpuram and I told my wife that home might look bigger, but it's lower. And we have the canal right next to us.
You'll get
So
flooded.
if it happens, which it has happened, when I was a kid, it happened. We got MCCHS, all our football fields were flooded. So I said, I have no floods happen. So now I anticipate the flood. I anticipate renting a home, by the way.
Right.
But still don't want to live in Koturpuram.
Yes.
Yeah. And we take a home, which is one of the only homes that doesn't get flooded. And then we are able to actually provide rice and sambar for the community at large.
Amazing. Yeah.
And we survive. I go to Bangalore, I live in a community, got flooded.
Yeah.
I'm saying this because in businesses, you have different economic floods,
Yes.
economic strife, economic tornadoes, economic typhoons. But it's a good thing to understand nature, the planet, and how you as human beings are anticipating and absorbing. That's when you can language the conversation as beat the odds.
But how do you figure out what you don't know, right? Often, sometimes you don't know some of these things. So, in fact, one of the early journeys we had a service tax and a raid in our office, and they told us things that were true, but we didn't know about it.
Yeah.
How do you figure out? Obviously, one is to keep learning, but what are the ways you figure out and stay ahead in some of these?
Yeah. That's a very good point, because I'm just coming away from a conversation this morning
Yeah.
that I think the government machinery in our country is now ahead of the private machinery in being compliant. You have machines on the other side which are doing the computation of what's due.
Yeah.
They're using alternate data more than we are. We're not able to even consume what we are supposed to do.
Right.
And there's an old phrase which I learned when I was studying my accountancy: ignorantia elenchi neminem excusat, which is the ignorance of law is no excuse.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? So, do we hire a chief risk officer, a chief legal officer?
Hmm.
Do you have a chief finance officer? And I will reel out. You need somebody who understands finance and funding. You need to know. You need to understand regulatory
Yeah.
requirements. You need to understand your risk. Do you run insurances or not? You need to have compliance, the machinery, before you start a business.
Yeah.
You must know what your taxes are, direct
Yeah.
and indirect. You have to know the laws that are applicable. You have to get yourself audited so that you can check back whether you've done it or not. You have to have a legal understanding of contracts, how you want to go about things. And when disputes arise with you and your stakeholders, how do you resolve disputes? And finally, secretarial. Right? We're actually building an ability to have a score, even for a startup. I was just at the government's department that looks at startups. So very proudly, we said 13,000 startups. But I really want to know whether they've got a fractal score.
Yeah.
And can we then therefore partner
Yeah.
with them and say, get your fractal score to 100?
Yeah. I know you have a scoring mechanism. You'd shared it with us.
Sorry?
You had shared a mechanism
Yeah, exactly.
at the Chennai Angels
Yeah.
on
So
how do you.
the ability to keep having measurement systems is important.
Yeah. To evaluate the risk and evaluate external
You
environment.
can't expect to interact with society and not have accountability to it,
Yeah.
especially when a commercial contract takes place.
Yeah.
Even socially, it's not allowed.
Yeah.
When you get trolled.
Yeah.
Right? Social systems are now all electronic.
Yeah.
So I'm not even at freedom or liberty to use language if the society feels it's inappropriate. And who is the society?
Yeah.
That's dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, fascinating. Now, that's very helpful. Want to change a bit of the track now, move towards marketing, building a brand, building trust. I know you come from building organizations and building systems that build trust, right? And I think that's at the heart of many things you've built and been part of. Can you take us through a little bit on, be it Karvy or even at IndusAge, like how do you build that trust? What are some of the things, and especially in ecosystems which are either new or where the trust doesn't exist, right?
Correct.
In one of your investing companies, I was researching even Stella apps, like you're building trust across the ecosystem and not just your product, right? You're trying to build trust, which is a bit more wider in nature. Take us through what have you seen, things happen that build that trust?
Fortunately, the language has arrived, which at that time didn't exist. The language of my 40 years ago, the LLM, would say it's trust.
Yes.
The language of today is zero trust. Zero trust. So I don't trust you.
Yeah.
What will you work? Right? My purchase or sale to you shouldn't be basis this notion of trust. And so the new technology architectures are starting to think about zero trust policies, which is in the world of smart contracting, let your transaction and the transaction repeatability be the trust quotient. So it comes back to design architecture and the ability to repeat a transaction, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You want a coffee? Can I get that coffee the way I tasted it 40 years ago at Sarvana Bhavan? And Sarvana Bhavan will give me that taste of 40 years ago that my olfactory system is telling me, yeah, it's the same. I go back to Sarvana Bhavan.
Yeah.
What trust is there in that?
Yeah.
It's
So
not
reliability
trust.
of the
It's the reliability
experience
and
in the
their resilience in their system that the new 22-year-old who's serving me is still continue to serve me. So the structures, the systems, the processes, the methods, and the people are trained to provide transactional trust first. If we don't focus on that, as you know, if you don't focus on the drop, the ocean will be pretty muddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, and once you start this, it's a journey. You can't establish trust by buying a full page advertisement.
Yeah.
From a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
I love
That's way to expand it, perhaps, but
maybe
yeah.
maybe seasonally, but I love our largest FMCG in this country has an advertisement that comes once a week in a corner of a page and has done that for me since I was born.
Amul. Yeah.
Amul. So for 75 years, they've not spoilt the idea that persistency and repeatability and yet being incredibly contemporary.
Yeah.
As a mode to communicate.
With the products as well, actually.
And it's got nothing to do with the product. If you look at the cartoon,
yeah,
has got nothing to do with the product.
Yeah.
All they say is, think of us.
Absolutely. Keep us on top of mind.
And as far as I'm concerned, when the butter came on my table this morning versus the butter I get in another hotel where they make it with a lot of care, but it's not the Amul butter.
Yeah.
So where's the Amul butter? Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's transactional. I think it's about
Understood.
getting the transaction right. As we say,
Yeah.
you can say we love each other,
Yeah.
but there is an opportunity to say happy birthday. There's an opportunity to say happy anniversary. There's an opportunity to say, how's your mother? How's your father? How's your children?
Yeah.
There's an opportunity to say, how old are they now? What are they doing today? There's an opportunity
Yeah.
for all of these, which otherwise might be called transactional.
Yeah.
But actually, each of these that you cement trust with. And your trust is a poor adhesive.
Yeah.
So that's why zero trust is better.
Yeah.
Trust is a very weak adhesive. It can just be ripped.
Yeah.
By one wrong event, by
Yeah.
one mishap,
Yeah.
one transactional error. Like I didn't give 35,000 on
Yeah.
time, cut.
Yeah.
But I trusted him for what he was actually telling me. If I had not, I would have hated him for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
I would have lived in hate, and that's my hate. He doesn't even know
Yeah.
that I hate him.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So trust, I think, is an active ingredient.
Yeah.
It's not a passive ingredient.
Yeah. And you've obviously invested in many companies, both on the consumer side, a lot more on the deep tech side and tech side, also on the consumer side. Where have you seen this repeatability of product, of experience, of, can you take us through one example of where you've seen it happen really well? And maybe one where, maybe take us to one or two examples of where you've seen brands create that repeatability of that product, the experience or the service or that excellence that customers expect, that repeatability that you're talking about. Can you take us through one example where they've managed to do it and maybe one where they've not managed to do it?
Yeah. So let me give an example where it's difficult.
Yeah.
Right. So at Karvy itself, to be repeatable was an exercise, which means we were the first service enterprise, I think, at that time, to embrace the idea of ISO 9001.
Yeah.
ISO, is a Latin word for repeatability.
Right. I didn't know that.
It's not ISO.
Okay.
It's ISO. And so you have isometric, isosceles,
right,
so on and so forth, two equal sides of a triangle, etc. And you have to actually then drill it down. So in services, we created the notion of an idea of the service delivery unit, an SDU. Like you have an SKU, a storekeeping unit. So if you have physical matter, you can give it bounds of physicality and then
Yeah.
say, this has got to be repeatable. In services, you need to have, the way we tackled it at the time was to have service delivery units. So you make it into an assembly line almost, and you start looking at how many things can you convert to method and process dependent. Then on top of it, you add people to accelerate the experience, if you may, right? But the structure keeps evolving. It's like a wedding cake. You start with the base, and your base must be extremely strong. Then you keep tearing it up, and then the person is really the cherry.
Correct.
Or the color of the cake that you want to use, etc. So I would say that when you're building these companies, you have to think this potential zero trust transaction that must be fulfilled. And which such transaction are you likely to be fulfilling most often? So we built a company called Connect and Heal, or we're building right now, one of our portfolio companies. And I love it because you're trying to do something with the degree of difficulty is extremely high. In healthcare, and that to an outpatient, you're not inside my ICCU where I can control the environment.
Right.
I can add machines to monitor. I can do lots of stuff in an ICU or an ICCU. And it is an intensive care unit, right? But take the intensive care concept and I want to do it at home. Or I want to do it at work. And I'm taking most of your healthcare can be actually preventively managed, proactively managed outside the IPD. You don't have to come to the IPD, which is the inpatient department, right? You can do this outpatient. So we have created a company that is attempting to look at doing your health checks.
Yeah.
Can I schedule you? Can I tell you Saturday 10 a.m.? And the clinic will be open and the clinic is not a queue. And so it's always been, oh my God, if I go to a health check, after half a day I require, or I need one full day. And I'm not too sure when it will come. I don't have something near my home. So we built this company which has built the rails to connect diagnostic centers, specialist consultants themselves. We have our own pool of consultants to the extent we run it ourselves. And you're looking at pathology, radiology, all kinds of omics, as it's called, to look at data sets, which allow me to look at where you are.
Yeah.
And we do this business contractually with employers for their employees. So most guys will look at this and say, this is a B2B company.
Yeah.
I have never understood that word B2B.
Correct.
If the recipient is an individual entity and not a collective entity, then that's not B2B, it's B2C.
Yeah.
Right? You may contract. I may contract Wipro or Accenture for their employees to get it done in Hyderabad and in wherever, in Manali, right? Or wherever they are. So building a trusted brand in that scenario, I can name it, I can mnemonic it, I'll logo it. Then what? Then it's all about, okay, you're going to teach me that the annual health check is important. First do that. So 3 years ago when we launched it, we had 600 people in an outbound center to convince people you need to do a health check.
Right. Yeah, preventive health check.
But that effort to provide the requisite literacy, if you may, or the education required, or the prompt required, as it's called today, or the nudge that you need to make. Fast forward 3 years later, just 3 years later, the company did more business last month than what we used to do annually.
Right.
So it's a 12x turn. But more importantly, the adoption rates, which were 20% with 600 people, I now need less than 40 people and my adoption rates are 3x. My business is 12x.
Yeah.
So going back to the point that we talked about earlier, trust is repeat. And by the way, this is only once a year. So it's not like I have an interaction possibility less than a year.
Yeah.
So how do I build trust? So the trust will come that the guy will tell his colleague, hey, these guys scheduled me right. Or he's going to say, it all botched.
Yeah.
They don't do it at 9 a.m. Like they said. The clinic was not open.
Yeah.
The ultrasound machine was, the radiologist was not out there.
Yeah.
So I drank my water and I went there with 1 liter inside and
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Right? So if you think about the entire experience side, but what are the elements of delivery chain that you have to work out and the complexity of this is really
Yeah.
complex.
Yeah.
But we've been able to crack it. This company is profitable and it's moving forward as an entity that will repeat itself.
Right.
I'll take another healthcare example, which is difficult again, which is radiology. I have an incident, right?
Yeah.
I need a CT scan or an
Yeah.
MRI scan. When do I get the report? How long does it take? Is there a radiologist available? I went in, I walked out.
Yeah.
And often it can take 48 hours. But if I'm suffering,
Immediate results. Yeah.
that doesn't happen. So we went about creating a company that would start thinking more about how do we provision capacity for that individual who's likely to be wanting it for an emergency.
Yeah.
It's not like let me do a chest x-ray once a year. That's very different from a proactive or an annual preventive is different from a reactive.
Yeah.
Right? Or an episodic. So trust creation in healthcare has been typically it takes 40 years. How do I do it in 4 years?
Yeah.
So now you start to marry digital technology, trustless architecture, transaction capacity, competently delivered.
Yeah.
Each time, every time.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that's what converts to trust.
So in many ways, you're saying the marketing begins with the product and
design.
And the design of how that repeatability of the experience of the product is great.
And baking in the consumption of that product.
Yeah.
You see, okay, now you say B2B.
Yeah.
Let's say the collective buys something on behalf of the collective. That's called a B2B. Right?
Correct.
So you have consensus architecture.
Yeah.
This guy's also got to say yes, that guy's also got to say yes. By the time 10 guys say yes, it's 9 months out.
Yeah.
Right? Which is why B2B sales are long.
Correct.
Because that's in the consensus paradigm. Even there, if the individual is the consumer, right, then you have to think B2C.
For each of those cohorts.
Even if I'm doing ERP,
yeah,
ERP as consumed for the materials department is different from the ERP consumed for the manufacturing department, is different for the HR department, is different for the customer relations department.
Yeah.
But they all survive on a single record.
Yeah.
Or we seek to make an enterprise record that all these people are going to take and consume.
Yeah.
But if your HR person understands HRMS differently, and just because you did material procurement, but never understood what this person is, this ERP will get negated.
Absolutely.
And it'll go back to point solutions.
Yeah.
So you can't get enterprise resource management.
Yeah.
You'll get point solution management.
Yeah.
Right? Which is not what the enterprise needs or wants to do. So broken consumption patterns, and I repeat the consumption pattern, is very critical. Now I can sit and say, in my printing business, I said, oh, what I'll do is I have a printing press, right? A product. So why not we print packaging material? I said, yeah. So the customer said, yeah, great idea. Go ahead. Here's the purchase manager. Go to the factory and buy it. So the consumer of that printed product on a packaging machine, which runs at a particular speed, if the material of that packaging material does not meet the speeds of that packaging machine, or a simple thing like a crevice on board is not neatly done to the nanometer, it doesn't fly there.
Yeah.
The machine blocks and stops. And the worker who you didn't configure was your customer, or you didn't think he was your client.
The shop floor workers.
He's actually the consumer of your product.
Yeah.
And then you realize this is B2C again.
Yeah.
Because effectively what he's going to endorse is that this packaging material, I love it. Give it to me, give me more. And then I'm shipping truckloads after that.
Yeah.
But if I had not slept on the floor with that guy,
there
was no chance it was going to go.
Yeah.
So, so basically I think in building businesses where I'm talking on marketing, sales, it doesn't stop at the point. You have to think after sale.
Yeah.
It's like in the food business, I have 3 categories: taste, after taste, and after waste.
Right. Sure.
I'm going to reject the guy if my after waste experience poor.
Yeah.
In fact, I go tell others. I got a bad tummy upset. I went and ate there.
Yeah.
And there goes his business.
Yeah.
So after waste, how many people are thinking circular economy?
Yeah.
Today, the consumer is asking you, what material did you use?
Are you sustainable?
Is it sustainable or not?
Yeah.
Will it hurt my AQI? Will it
Yeah.
hurt my consumption?
Yeah.
So the new businesses that are going to get formed
Yeah.
are planet first now,
Yeah.
because the consumer has educated themselves to say
Make it
planet first,
sustainable. Yeah.
social first,
Yeah.
human first.
Yeah.
Then you can talk about your product.
Yeah.
If you look at FMCG in the US, it's a fascinating plot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All of the new business done is not from existing incumbents. 15 to 20% has moved to people who have baked in the new consumer requirements.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they don't. So they're
Yeah.
acquiring these companies today.
Yeah.
But
We've seen
that's
that,
not
yeah.
going to help if the design principles of the organization
Are not changing and evolving.
are not changing. You have to design, not product. You have to design organizationally.
Yeah.
So I took a person from Thomas Cook
Yeah.
who understood consumer experience management because they were travel booking,
Yeah.
but they knew it didn't end by buying a ticket.
Yeah.
When they knew Thomas Cook gave you a good holiday back in London, and they told you which bus to take there,
Yeah.
you came back to Thomas Cook. So I took a girl from Thomas Cook to run our investor relations center in Karvy, because I said she has to teach us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a shareholder
Yeah.
record keeper.
Fair. No, fascinating. So we're going to do a rapid fire, which we hopefully we don't want you to think too much for this. Just whatever comes to your mind first. Let's do that. Yeah. One metric you trust more than revenue, talent. We'll dig deep on that later. Most underrated founder trait.
Most underrated founder trait:
Yeah.
thinking beyond himself or herself.
Okay. Karvy 1995 or Celesta today. Which one was harder to build?
Oh, no, they're all equally hard.
Okay.
Nothing changes in 50 years
Okay.
because you're always building for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And tomorrow is unknown.
Yeah.
So it's always building tomorrow, right? So I think the beauty about founding or managing businesses is really about solving for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can take 10 years, sometimes it takes 1 year. That's fine.
Takes longer. Yeah. One boardroom red flag that makes you walk out of the board.
Lack of transparency.
Transparency. Great. One investment that's given you the most returns in your 4-decade experience.
Intangible or tangible?
You maybe give one each. One each.
Intangible from every single one of them.
Yeah.
Tangible also.
Yeah.
See, often what happens, we don't connect dots. And I'll say this quickly in a rapid way.
Yeah.
An IRR of one gets compensated by the IRR of the next. And we attribute, unfortunately, the 10x return of something else to something else.
Yeah.
Did I make money when I was a printer? And have I made money by being in digital marketing? And these are very disconnected.
Yeah.
But the positives or the negatives of what I did in the 80s, I repeated in the 2000s, 2010s actually, in Pixis, making an investment in your arena. Right?
Yeah.
But it came natively for me.
Yeah.
It was intuitive.
Yeah.
It was native. So I'd already covered the cost of this investment is not the check I gave. The cost of the investment was, what did I do for those years then?
Yeah.
The cost of sleeping on platforms and, being a coolie, literally, because you had to do it. That cost might be burdensome, right? And people have said, oh, this is a waste of time to do that.
Yeah.
But it gets sort of compensated like in minutes flat.
Yeah.
I had to just meet this guy and I said, I get it. I understand it. Let's go.
Let's do it.
You get the point? So,
So don't calculate it just.
Don't take IRRs to be singular events.
Attribution can be more complex when you look at the past. One book you give to founders.
Scale by Jeffrey West.
Okay, perfect. I think we have time for 2 last questions. One is a closing question. The other one I would like to keep on Pixis, right? So you invested in Pixis and into AI I think Pixis for 2021, almost 5 years ago. When
called generative adversarial networks. Now it's called Gen AI.
Yeah, AI wasn't sexy. AI wasn't there. ChatGPT wasn't there. And you always in many ways looked ahead. But because this is in the marketing space, can you take us through what was the thesis there? What is it today? How are you seeing AI overall, but also AI in marketing? And how do you see that progressing?
Yeah, I think the fact that the advertising spends were being reallocated to digital because of the adoption rates that we were, it was prolific, right? So billions of users of mobile phones. And so this all happened in the last 25 years. And then so the ad spends were starting to move to allocate to where your consumers were spending time, or where were they engaged, or
Yeah.
where were they interacting, where were they making referrals on a product or a service. And so when the platforms of communication change from, let's say, a newspaper to a phone or to a particular platform, whether it's a Facebook or a Google or whatever, and then you start understanding when we were advertising in newspapers, the depending on where we wanted to sell, the consumer of that print took the highest ad rates.
Yeah.
Right? So Dinamalar and Dinatanti will take it in Chennai.
Yeah.
Or in each language, Dainik Bhaskar,
Rajasthan Patrika, yeah.
Rajasthan Patrika was different from Dainik Bhaskar.
Yeah.
So because it was Hindi, didn't matter.
Yeah.
I would need to be in that zone of thought. So my print budgets would be clearly allocated. My distribution from my printing understood that. Right? From where were you dropping print material? You come up the scale, you say, where do you show a cinema? In a cinema, what film would you show? You come up and you say, then TVs come, and what programming are you looking at? Who are the watchers? And so now we're looking for statistics and data to support our allocation of dollars,
Yeah.
to whether it's in outdoor hoardings or what kind of hoarding, etc. And luckily, I was, when I was doing my CA, we were auditors of Selwell. So I was lucky to understand hoardings as a business.
Right.
So all of these, when I look at the connected dots, so digital marketing became what is today.
Yeah.
And so when Pixis came up with the idea that graphics generation, firstly, consumer research, then you need to generate graphics.
Yeah.
Or you need to think copy and
Yeah.
graphics. And then you need to think delivery, like delivery system itself. And then you want to look at ROAS ultimately. So performance.
Optimizing for
you need return on ad spend.
Yeah.
At the time, most of the MarTech platforms were doing one of the above, not all of the above.
Right.
And Pixis proposed, was not so, but Pixis proposed, we will necessarily bring all these together.
Right.
Because the entities that work on each of them are very different. And by that time, the ad agencies had been unbundled.
Yeah.
In my time, all of them were in Hindustan Thompson or in Lintas.
Yeah.
But soon the AOR guy was different, the media guy was different, the creative shops were different. They were being unbundled.
Yeah.
And I'd seen the unbundling of this industry.
Yeah.
And the loss of ROAS. Return on ad spend will be when you bring everything together.
Absolutely.
Now, the other interesting thing was that the party on the other side was not a print guy who was auctioning time, space, cohorts. Print never told you much.
Yeah.
They give you data, but not enough.
Yeah.
Hoardings, we gave
Even
data,
television
but not
doesn't.
enough.
Yeah.
We're supposed to give traffic density. We could say it and see it. That's it. Right? So the hoarding near Chowpatty in Bombay was the most priced hoarding at my time. And Bittu, our friend who owned that hoarding, made the most money. Because he got the right hoarding.
Yeah.
But do you think about that? That's required in digital today.
Yeah.
So what is the hoarding of today? Now, how would you do this if everything is so dynamic and everything is time oriented and you have machines on the other side allocating space to you? Whereas on this side, all marketing professionals were sitting potentially on spreadsheets, if at all, and mostly on intuition.
Yeah.
So there was no Wall Street kind of quant algorithm to support you in your decision. And even if you're right or wrong, at least you must know your stop loss and a book profit and take the next iteration. So bringing creativity and compute was the offer. And that makes a lot of sense in digital marketing, right? So I think that converging these aspects, which are otherwise fragmented, distributed, was really the offer. And I would say that's what allowed us to take a look at the company And then, then you can say it's rest is history. But to deliver again is a lot of right things to do.
The repeatability of that experience is
So
still...
going from 5 million to 50, 60 million now is something that it's been a big trajectory.
Yeah.
And we see the ad agencies still exist in their ways because their services are currently people-centric, people to people.
Yes.
Like I told you before.
The consumer is still...
It's still a B2C business.
Absolutely. Very much so.
Because if this guy doesn't know that guy, it's consumer to consumer.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to chat with you. It's like my old beer that I had with the brand manager.
Yeah.
But in a faceless, zero trust world, machines will speak louder.
Yeah.
Algorithms will take charge. And so to your next question that you asked, AI will produce different results. And it'll be machine versus machine, and machines will allocate to machines. It's going to be a change. But we as people behind those machines, we need to think about the guardrails. We need to think about our inputs into it. And so I don't think digital will replace. It will restore and renew the abilities of the human to participate.
Yeah.
Differently though.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's a lot to unpack there. Maybe we'll do a separate one on Pixis at some point. Want to end with asking you, you've support and speak to a lot of entrepreneurs. You've invested in many of them. If somebody was starting out today, what has been your 4 decades of experience? If you were to encapsulate in 1 or 2 key learnings that you want to give away to somebody starting out today, what would those be?
I think take wicked problems and take population at scale problems, right? So it allows you to not win. It allows you a journey. It allows you time. It allows you patience. It allows you to beat the evens and take the odds. If you take the odd as the first step, everything else is a set of evens only, right? Because you take a very tough problem, that odd is what you're solving for.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine told me long ago, he said, don't choose a cliff you can climb because it's not worth it, because you would have climbed it. And then what? You're going to jump off? You're not going to jump off. So take something that you're unlikely to achieve. So once you take that as your North Star, then it's great fun.
Yeah.
Because you're having fun from there onwards. So if I say in India, for example, things that are intriguing my mind right now. There's no housing. I mean, we said roti, kapda, makan.
Yeah.
We have food insecurity. 800 million people are living still on food that they have to wait in queues for. Still, it's not solved. Kapda, I guess, maybe to some extent.
There is affordable clothing.
There is affordable clothing available. Makan, no.
Yeah.
In time, on budget, same QPT. Quality,
price and time.
Non-existent. So we actually have a company that we have an investment in called Brick and Bolt, which builds homes, albeit not affordable. Rather, it's affordable for the person in their affordability bracket.
Yeah.
Which is an average of about 1 crore to 2 crores. But I'm saying 50 lakhs. There's a demand for at least 1 million homes.
Yeah.
Of 50 lakh rupees each. Decently done. Right? Quality again, solid, like the Hero Honda. Gave you 70 kilometers when the scooter at that time was giving you 20. Fill it, shut it, forget it.
Yeah.
Kind of experience.
Yeah.
For a home.
Yeah.
It won't leak. It won't get damaged.
Durable.
Paint won't peel. So on and so forth. So can we use technology to deliver 1 million homes in the next 1,000 days?
Yeah. So and I know you're doing a lot of work in material science around this as well.
So you would take things, and I would never forget, please do things which are very, very planet friendly. Without that, don't try, because you'll get hit on your head sooner than later. And be human, because if you miss that, you'll miss a lot. Yeah, and then commerce will follow.
Yeah. No, fascinating. Thank you so much for being here with us, Sudhir. I know you have a busy schedule, and lots of founders and LPs probably calling you, but thank you so much for taking on the time.
Thanks a lot, Vikas. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for making me probably feel younger and reeling myself back to 40, 50 years ago.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.